This was a leak detection that we performed about a month ago at a pool spa combo. It has it's drop down from spa, but it has a high waterfall that goes all the way up. And we found multiple leaks. We're going to show you the report so you could actually see it. You'll see that we had a leak at the skimmer seam. We had structural cracks running down this pool. And we also had leaks at gaps in the water feature up top, in the waterfall itself. We also had to dial down some of the water coming down into it, but take a look at some of the work that we did, and we'll show you how we got it done. So whenever we start cutting our skimmer, we always measure it out, take a good plunge cut. Now we're gonna chip it out, we're gonna dig it out, and because they're entombed here, there's a lot more work involved. Once we get to the pipe, we stub it up, pressure test it, make sure it's all good before we go in and do what we have to do. We pre-plumb our skimmers and stub them back, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure to get the proper height. This is the most important part of installing a skimmer, is setting it to the right elevation. You want that bottom edge of that front lip of the skimmer to line up with the throat of the skimmer on the very bottom as well. So we're gonna plumb it right, we're gonna make sure that we have it centered right, and watch how we get it done. Once we set it, we make sure that we have everything right. If we don't have it lined up right, we're going to reset it again. It's a lot more work, but we always want to try to make sure that we get it done right the first time. Then we're going to pack mud around the outside. When I say mud, we use a hydraulic cement, typically quick setting, and then we also use the same thing to seal up the inside. We're going to get rid of all those roots up top and make sure we get a nice clean joint. Once we do, we're getting it all set up so that we can install our steel and we could re-entomb it. Installing your steel is a very important part of this. We epoxy dowel, we get it, drill it out, we get it nice and clean, and we tie that steel and wrap that skimmer so that when we do pour it, and we use about 8 bags when we pour it, that we get a nice solid re-entombed skimmer that's set to the proper elevation. Take a look at how we get it clean inside. And so now let's move on to the structural cracks. On the structural cracks, we mapped and misted it so that it shows us where all our cracks are. We determine the actual linear footage. Then what we do is we're cutting wide on these. So we're cutting a nice channel out, and then we set our staples on the inside of the actual channel. We get everything nice and clean before we set our staples. Then we set our staples, we used an epoxy, and now we're gonna compress this to 22 pounds. That's what we typically use in gunite and shotcrete. Then we set all our other staples. And then the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna pack it with a hydraulic cement. We're gonna keep that from getting any water to those staples. And we never really have any problems with bleed out. As we mentioned, we had leaks in the waterfall, so what we're going to do is use a waterproof product first on all the joints. You can see that it's nice and clean. After that, we use our mortar mix to cover that up. We're going to wipe it down with a sponge, and this is going to be tight and waterproof.